all that. Check that out. That's just disgusting. You know? But back in those days, if you had leprosy, that was a sign of sin. That was, you're unclean. You're unclean and you're not allowed in the community. So not only do you look like that, if you can see this guy, his fingers are like, you know, I don't know, it's just nasty. And would you guys want to touch this? No? Some of you guys, yeah? Okay. I guess, hey, to each his own. But anyways, you look like this, right? But that's not it. You're excluded from society. You are shunned. You know, imagine how this guy is, you know, the leper, you know, imagine how he feels trapped. You know, and we can even go into, you know, those who have leprosy, you know, once you are around in, you know, a certain area of the public, you have to yell that you're unclean just because it's contagious. And if you make someone else unclean, you're going to hell. So, you know, just imagine, you know, walking around, unclean, unclean, unclean. And while I'm saying it, you guys are just dispersing. You guys are leaving, you know. I could just clear the way. If you know, at a rock concert, you could just say, take the leper with you. Unclean, unclean. But anyways, but the fact is, he was touched. Jesus touched him. Jesus, this pure, you know, divine power touched that. When everyone else in society was, you know, kicking that person out of the city. But just to go further into detail about being trapped, just imagine what he had to go through. You know, imagine how he was trapped physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially. Just picture that with me. You know, first of all, physically trapped, you look like that. You know, you have your fingers are disappearing, your legs, your joints are, you know, all numb, you can't really feel anything. So, you know, emotionally, you can't even be with your family. You know, if you felt like this, I'm pretty sure you're depressed. You know, so all these emotions that is, you know, taking over this man, he's trapped, emotionally trapped, because he can't help it. He's stuck. As much as he wants to go around his family, he can't. He's not allowed. Every time you go somewhere, unclean, unclean, unclean. A lot of our issues are internal. You know, this guy, you know, you can see that he's a sinner. You can see that he, you know, has this disease. Can you picture us at San Diego State? I have chlamydia. I have herpes. I have herpes. I have an addiction, you know, and everybody leaving. You know, so this guy, you can actually see the sin. Yet Jesus still came and he touched him. And it's crazy because Jesus, you know, Jesus is God, and sin, you know, God and sin, they don't really mix. And for those of you who don't really know what sin is, let me read it for you. An example. Sin is any act, thought, desire, emotion, word, or deed, or its particular absence, displeasing God and deserving blame. This man is displeasing to God because he, you know, he's marked with sin. He's marked with sin, yet Jesus still has what? Compassion. If we can go back to the, you know, not only did he touch the leper, he what? Healed him. He healed him. And, you know, hold on, sorry. You know, after you're healed, you know, how did that change his life? How did that affect his life? You know, now, you know, he has good skin again. No need for proactive. He, you know, socially, you know, he can go around the public. He can, you know, mingle with his friends. His friends that probably betrayed him because, you know, he has leprosy. So I'm not going to kick it with you anymore. You know, if you were unclean, you couldn't go to the temple. You couldn't go to church. If this were today, this man would not be at fuel. I'm pretty sure a lot of us wouldn't be at fuel. You know, but he's able to go home, you know, hug his wife, hold his wife after that whole time where he was trapped from this disease. As he was a slave from this disease, he is now free because Jesus touched him, because Jesus healed him, you know. And just how do you think he felt? How do you think, you know, just like the miners, you know, being trapped, but this guy, it's all physical. You have all these bumps, you know, your fingers magically come back. You know, it's just crazy to see, and it happened instantly, you know, like the Disney Channel when Beauty and the Beast and all that stuff, you know. He's just healed, back to normal. And the fact that Jesus touched him it shows compassion. It shows, you know, it says right there, moved with compassion. Jesus wants to touch him. You know, he's not even allowed to be touched. He's not even allowed to be anywhere near Jesus. Yet Jesus reached out and touched him. And that's what Jesus wants to do to a lot of us tonight. He wants to reach out and touch you wherever you're hurting. Whatever, you know, you feel pain, whatever your issues are, whatever's blocking you from, you know, knowing him, for having that relationship with him, whatever's blocking you from you know, freedom. His hand is reached out. But, you know, if you look at the leper, you know, he came and knelt in front of Jesus begging to be healed. And that's what, you know, Jesus wants to do that for us tonight. And in the midst of his sin, in the midst of his entrapment, Jesus came and touched him. Some of us in here may think, you know, oh, well, you know, I'm so deep, you know, in sin, or, you know, I'm just so far away from God that he won't heal me. He won't set me free. He won't. But that's not true. But the fact is, it's pretty sad because, you know, a lot of us have this now idea of, okay, it's possible to be free. This man was free. It's possible to be free. It's possible to experience freedom, to experience that joy when you are free. But a lot of us in here won't be able to experience that tonight. And it's sad. And the reason I say it's sad, because we like to hide. We aren't doing what the leper's doing. You know, we like to hide from our own problems, and we like to do it on our own, you know. The fact is that we just aren't desperate. That we, you know, this guy's desperate. You know, this guy is desperate. He's, you know, been away from his family. He's been ostracized. He's been away. He has these warts all over his face, all over his, you know, fingers. He can't even go to church. You know, a lot of us, church is a big deal. You know, for those of you who, you know, who go to church regularly, you know, you need that. So if, you know, it kind of softens his, you know, emotions about, you know, not softens, hardens actually. He's trying to be healed, trying to, you know, pray to God, to worship or whatever and pray. But what's the point if you can't even go to the temple? If you can't even go and you know, seek help? But the fact is, you know, he's desperate, and we aren't. So I feel that's what's keeping us from you know, asking God and to have that freedom, because, you know, he knelt down in front of everybody. I don't know if you guys know, but Jesus rose deep. You know, he's not by himself. So he's out in public, and he's kneeling down, you know, begging, you know, with all these warts and stuff and on his hand, and risking the fact that, you know, if you touch someone else, you know, you're unclean. You know, what if Jesus, you know, were to touch him and Jesus were to get leprosy? And Jesus would have been, you know, we wouldn't be here right now. And it's crazy because we always try to do it on our own. We always try to do things on our own. Why? Why do we like to hide? Why? God's hand is reaching out for us to touch us, yet we feel, you know, ashamed or whatever it may be, whatever it is that's holding you back. You know, we all have that hurt and Jesus, you know, is asking us, you know, why? Why aren't you, you know, because we're desperate. Because we're not desperate. I'm sorry. It's a long day. We're not desperate. He's desperate. The leper is desperate. We're not. And the reason we aren't getting healed, the reason we aren't seeking freedom or getting healed or being free is because we're not desperate. Because we think we can do it on our own.